Yeah, Laurie's with us. Hello.
Hiya.
And so I'm very pleased with that. I think that worked pretty well
Oh, glad you enjoyed it.
in this studio. And when I read it, it seemed like it was going to be topical for spring, because it just has a sense of summer being on the horizon.
Just about, just nearly there. Yeah.
So I think this has been a good time for it.
Yeah, definitely.
And also the way you cope with all the characters. I mean, I did mention this while that record was playing, but I thought that worked really well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it takes a skilled person to be able to do that, isn't it? From one to the other. It always amazes me when I hear Sarah doing it.
Well, yes, and I think that worked really well.
Mm.
So what I'd like to talk about, and maybe we should have sorted it out before we started, is what you think about copyright and Creative Commons, and what can be done with sound on radio.
I love radio drama. I think copyright probably is a quite complicated area about who owns what and when. But I really enjoy it. I like listening to drama on radio, but I think generally it has to be specifically written so that the audience would know what's going on.
So if I start taking that whole piece is roughly 15 minutes, which I'm quite happy with on radio. I think Phonic and a lot of community stations would take 15 minutes in a go, and that's not a problem. But if I start taking 3 minutes out of it, or break it up into 3 5-minute sections and playing a music track in the middle of it and things like that, you both might, as a performer or a writer, start saying, well, no, that's not what
I can't imagine it being blocked up, because to me, I mean, apart from the very beginning part when she's talking about various things, once it starts going, to me, it's got a momentum of itself, and she's describing this, that and the other.
Right.
So for me, I don't know, about halfway through, what do you think, Sarah?
I know, because it's so anecdotal, this particular piece, and she's telling a story that builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
I think it might be quite challenging to find something to play in the middle or something and then break it up. But yeah, purely because obviously she's telling the story, this Sandillo is telling the story all from her perspective. And yeah, obviously it builds and builds and builds. So, but I'm sure there are other pieces that it might work in, no problem.
Or if you were writing something specifically, if you knew that you had 3-minute chunks,
right,
Yeah.
and after a song you wouldn't necessarily want to remind you, like if you have 15-minute radio pieces on on the main radio, if it's serial, they do a reminder the next day of what happened within the story. Where if it was 3 minutes and one record, you probably wouldn't want to keep going over what happened and things like that. But it would be a good challenge and quite entertaining if you knew that beforehand.
Right.
And you were going to write 5 3-minute pieces, say, or
Yes.
I mean, I guess for this piece you'd have to write in, oh, hang on, I think I can hear someone coming to the store. No, I must be quiet. Oh, he has gone. I can now talk again. You'd have to put something like that, as I was saying.
Yeah. Well, that would be. I think that's the answer to my question. Is if you're both aspects of this, if you're prepared to work with in that way.
Yeah.
And I sort of mention this because I think radio's a sort of intermediate phase between stage drama and social media, I would say. So I think radio has sort of imposed a rework on the live stage. But I think the way things are going, there's probably got to be another set of changes. So the social media is forcing attention into shorter and shorter chunks. But if you're prepared to rework things towards that, then maybe that's the way to do it. So the writer's got to be aware of the format they're trying to fit into, but it can still be the same story or related stories, maybe.
So when you're talking about social media, would you be talking? Are you talking about where you have a verbal or pictures, or what kind of thing?
Combination. I think that a lot of it is still text, but also short video, which includes a musical background.
Kind of TikTok kind of thing.
Like TikTok style, or YouTube is. Well, actually, YouTube is going both ways. I'd say that you can still have an hour or more of YouTube talks, but the shorter ones are 30 seconds or 2 minutes or something.
It just basically emulates what's happening on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube Shorts. Yeah.
But I think somehow that you can have that sort of format as a way of promoting a longer format. And I think if you're thinking about live performance in a theatre, at the moment there doesn't seem to be a lot of reworking of that into formats that are going to fit into social media or music radio or magazine style of radio. I don't know what you find, but that's my impression of how
I would say this. What I think of a stage is a bigger, and it's kind of a beginning, a middle, and end. And you have the lighting and the costumes and the facial expressions and all those that add to it. To concentrate that down into something, either into small bites or things that are okay for radio, so you don't have the costumes and all the props and things. I think it's doable. I think maybe that's why it hasn't gone straight from a stage to social media, because of all those differences. I've
seen a lot of companies use social media for their trailers. So they've put together a really good 1 or 2 minute trailer of their theatrical piece with music as well, and I have seen that quite a lot.
Right.
So obviously using it in the same way that you'd have a film trailer. That's being used extensively now, I think, to kind of sell and promote in a way that would hopefully capture an audience and sell tickets.
And they also have comments, don't they, when the audience are coming out? They get the people with the big grins on their face and saying how much they enjoyed it and things like that.
Yes.
Which again goes into the trailer. So they've got the glimpses of the play, then you've got the reactions to it as well.
Yeah. So it is happening.
And crowdfunding as well. I know people who are trying to get producers trying to get the funding behind it to actually get it put on somewhere. So they'll put out a trailer for a crowdfunding kind of requirement, so that it will hopefully build people to give some money to enable it to then get.
So how much do they explain at that point?
Oh yeah, so they'll actually film sections, the actors and they'll actually film what's ever happening on the stage, that kind of thing as well, to just try and ensure that they get that opportunity to go to Edinburgh or go wherever they, or have a performance space.
Right. Well, that's getting
to sell the idea.
So I think it's a lot easier now with people who can do that on their cameras, isn't it? Because on their phones, because before it would have to be a whole different setup and a whole different lot of skills that you'd have to import for that, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
which could be difficult and expensive.
People are now using their phones to actually do feature-length films, let alone just doing social media. They're actually properly utilising that. So I think that's really taken off for stage and film. There's an opportunity to put things on social media.
Right. So that's great, because I'll just say, I don't know who's listening at this point, but the more clips like that we could get for the radio show, for this show and for other shows, I think would be very, very helpful, just to build it up as a flow of stuff.
Yes, I think it's a good idea. It's a great idea. Would you be thinking a straight run like that, or would you be interested in going towards this? Say a 5-minute clip and a song and a 5-minute clip.
Well, I think it's a mix.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
As far as the phonic drama show is concerned, I'm quite happy to do whatever makes sense to people. So, half an hour. I do several plays that I found on the internet which are half an hour long, and I think that's fine. But 15 minutes is good. But just the idea of why I asked the question about 5-minute chunks is because that definitely fits with radio and the magazine format. Mm-hmm. So I think that would work for a lot of different radio styles, and it's sort of getting closer to social media. So that if you had a playlist on YouTube, let's say, that was in 5-minute sections and mixed with songs that relate to the same themes, mm-hmm. I think an audience would stay with that.
Yeah, slot in nicely.
So that that would just encourage an audience to find that, and then maybe find the 15-minute version or the 30-minute version, mm-hmm. and then commit to a couple of hours of an evening, which I know that well, I'm putting words in your mouth maybe, but some theatre people would assume that the audience should commit to an evening on an experience they're not really sure what it's going to be. But I think the social media have got to come somewhere in the middle of it. And
I think I think you're right in calling it like to commit. It is a commitment. It's a commitment in time and it's a commitment in money, isn't it? So again, if people could, through things that you're suggesting, they could find dramas that they like, whether it be comic or dark or, thrillers or things like that, and or performers that they like or writers that they like, to start following things like that. A lot of the ones that you see with full seats in places like the Northcott that I've seen, there are a lot of other successful ones, but have got, they say, oh, so-and-so's in this who was in so-and-so programme on television, so right. that the audience know who that is. So yes. Again, if it could build up an interest away from somebody who is in some mainstream programme, that would be good.
It's some way that some sort of connection they can make, which is either they've seen a star on television in something else, or they've seen some version of the story, or some connection with it that comes over as content or dialogue in something else.
Definitely, I think. Yeah, I don't blame people for not going out and spending X amount of pounds and committing an evening to something they don't really know anything about. With films, of course, you'd know the stars, wouldn't you? Or there'd be lots of clips on television and things like that, so you can decide beforehand.
They keep doing sequels as well, don't
yes,
they?
Yes,
it's
yes,
the
yes.
version of something you already know.
Yes, yes. Maybe I should do a kicking off in Somerset too.
Well, yes. That's possibly how to do it.